Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. I'm State Senator Andrew Gounardes from Brooklyn, joined by nearly 40 of my colleagues here in both the Senate and the Assembly, along with the Member Karines Reyes. It's not every day you come to your office and you expect you have to fight fascists in your workplace, but nevertheless, here we are. There's a lot to say, and a lot of my colleagues are going to say it, but we want to just make it very, very abundantly clear that we say unequivocally that immigrants are welcome here. We say unabashedly that we are the sons and daughters and grandsons and granddaughters and even ourselves immigrants at one point in our lives. And we are not going to allow New York State to be complicit in the deportation dragnet and the fascist regime that the Trump administration wants to hoist upon us because they don't like people who don't look like them, who don't speak the language like them, or who they believe are the root cause of all the problems and ills in this world. That is not who we are as New Yorkers, that's not who we are as Americans, and that should not be who we are as human beings. And, like I said, there's a lot that folks want to say here. This notion that immigrants are the cause of all of our problems, the scapegoating that happens when they point to other people and say, they're the reason for your lot in life. This is nothing new. They were saying this 100 years ago when my grandfather came to this country. They've been saying this about immigrants for time eternal. But if Mr. Homan wants to be so concerned about public safety and about criminals, he should start with the repeat offender living in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. So now I'd like to ask my partner in the Assembly, who together we co-sponsor the New York for All bill, Assemblymember Karines Reyes, to speak. Thank you.
It's very difficult to get here in the morning and hear that we have the border czar in our building trying to yell back at us about policies that we know make our state safer. Every immigrant policy that we pass is not just about immigrants. It is about every New Yorker being safe. It is about every community being able to go to the police department and report a crime, go to court, take their children to school, go to the hospital and seek care. The reality is that they are here demanding for us to open up our DMV records because this theater that they've put together of rounding up criminals is no longer working. They have run out of criminals to round up because the reality has been the same, and we've been talking about this fact over and over again. The majority of undocumented immigrants are not committing crimes. The majority of crimes are committed by U.S. citizens. So when they have nobody else to round up, they're going to start to round up law-abiding immigrants. And we are here to tell them that they have lost their mind because we will not allow it, because we see right through them. We will not be complicit in this act. We are going to protect our immigrant New Yorkers. It has been abundantly clear, been made abundantly clear by the federal administration and by the White House that they don't care about New Yorkers. They do not care about New York farms. They don't care about New York small businesses. They don't care about New York schools. They don't care about New York communities, and they don't care about working class people. They are here to do their own agenda, to advocate for millionaires and billionaires, to pad their pockets and pad their wealth, and the rest of us get screwed. And if we think that this is just about undocumented immigrants, we are blind. We are blind. Our farmers right now are suffering because communities are cowering in fear of being picked up by ICE. Our small businesses are suffering. Our communities are suffering. Children aren't going to school. This isn't about public safety. Let's call it for what it is. This is a fascist agenda, and we are not going to be complicit in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Karines. Next, we're going to hear from all of our colleagues in the next couple of minutes, but I want to call up from the New York Immigration Coalition, Jahaira Roldan. Jahaira?
Sorry. Come on up. If you notice that my voice is a little raspy, it's because I have been mobilizing for our campaigns all year. We have been, at the New York Immigration Coalition, we have been mobilizing for our campaign since the moment, and even before, and years before Trump has taken office. I want y'all to know, and I want all of our electeds, our champions, our community members, and potential leaders, that Tom Homan leads with hate. He leads with xenophobia. He leads with the approach of dehumanization and criminalization of our immigrant communities. That rhetoric of hate is very simple. A second grader could walk into a conversation at the Oval Office right now and fully comprehend the theory. They are leading with full hate. Our campaigns are leading with solutions. The Working Families Tax Credit, an economic solution. The Access to Representation Act, the New York for All Act, these are solutions for public safety.
Right.
Tom Homan and his administration, and the Trump administration, and Eric Adams, every New Yorker, every elected that has taken a position against immigrants this year are leading with xenophobia that is not difficult to understand. But what is difficult for them to find is the solution to housing, the solution to child poverty, the solution to mass incarceration, mass deportation. We will not stand idly by while New York becomes complicit to mass deportations and the separations of our families. There is room for more in our movement. There is room for leaders and community members and electeds on our bills. I am imploring you to join us in our fight to keep our families together. Thank you so much for your time. The fight does not end here. I hope to see you in the future.
Thank you, Jahaira. That was incredible. Thank you. Now I'd like to call up the Deputy Majority Leader of the State Senate, and that is Senator Mike Gounardes.
Thank you. First of all, thank you to Andrew Gounardes and Karines Reyes for being such great leaders on this issue and on so many issues, and all my colleagues who are standing here, because we are making a statement that to respond to the shameful display the Republicans just put on in this building downstairs. The last person we are going to take advice from on how to handle these difficult issues is someone like Tom Homan, who associates with known racists like the Proud Boys. This is a person that has no problem openly meeting with the Proud Boys, who are well known to be people who have racist inclinations and are sitting there trying to demonize people of color, and that's what we're seeing here on this very issue. There's a reason why we have multiples of elected officials standing right here, right now, more than were in that room downstairs, because that is a distinctly minority position in New York State that they hold. That does not represent the values of the people of this state, does not represent the values of the people we represent, which is why the Republican Party is so deep in the minority in both the Assembly and the Senate in this state. We are the ones who make decisions about what is best for the people that we represent. We represent 2/3 of the people of this state, and we keep getting returned with these large majorities. So don't believe what you hear them saying downstairs. Don't listen to the nonsense. Don't listen to the racism, because that's what this is. I think Karines said it very well. They will try to demonize one or two examples and take down thousands of others who are not at fault. Why? Because they want to sow division and they want to sow hate. They don't want people who are struggling with affordability, who happen to be white, to join with people who are struggling with affordability, who happen to be of color, and realize what the real problem is, which is people like Donald Trump and all his friends, who are dividing those who are weaker to keep them from uniting against them. But we are here to say the opposite is true. We are going to bring people together. We know that people need help. We're here to provide it. And we are certainly not going to demonize the immigrant community in New York State or anywhere in this country who have contributed so much, including my own parents and so many of the family members and individuals who are standing up here today. The fight is just beginning, but we are in it, and we're going to win it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Gounardes. Now I want to call up the sponsor of the green light law in the Senate, and that is Senator Luis Sepulveda. Luis?
I ask all of you, look around here, look at the faces that we have here, and compare it to what happened downstairs. Look at the difference. This is what America is about. Downstairs was about xenophobia, white racism, white supremacy. We're going to fight against that, all of us here, with every breath that we have in our bodies. My colleague said, Karines Reyes said that immigrants, undocumented immigrants commit considerably less crime in this state. But it's not lost upon me that the guy leading the fascist movement in this country has been convicted of 34 felonies and civilly raping a woman. The green light bill, the arguments that they're making against it now were the same tired arguments that they made 5 years ago. One of the arguments was that undocumented immigrants will use this bill, will use this law to register to vote. There hasn't been a single case in 5 years of any undocumented immigrant trying to register as a voter in this state under the guise of the green light law. Not a single one. They said they would create dangerous situations in our cities, in our towns. And the opposite has happened. There hasn't been any correlation between crime and the green light law. If anything, it's made our communities safer. It's ensured that undocumented immigrants and all people get the adequate training when they're driving a vehicle, that they can get insurance when they're driving a vehicle, when they can speak to the police when they're victims of crimes or have witnessed crimes, where they can openly speak with the police to make their communities safer. This administration wants to blame immigrants for everything that's wrong in this country, rather than blessing immigrants who have toiled, who have contributed, who work every day in this country, who take the jobs that nobody else wants to work. They work in farms and back-breaking labor that none of us want to do. When COVID was at its worst, they continued to work, and many of them lost their lives. Many of them didn't have insurance. Many of them didn't have an outlet. And yet they continue to work. They continue to protect this state and this city. I want to thank Governor Hochul, because when Donald Trump put her in a room with a group of white men in the White House and tried to force her and tell her that we want your DMV records, in professional terms, the governor told him to fuck off. And that's what I tell Cuomo. That's what I tell... That's correct. That's what I tell all of them. Because New York State stands for the rights of people. And New York State and my colleagues, we know we're going to continue to work together to make sure that we protect the most vulnerable people in our community, people who contribute billions of dollars to our treasury and get very little back, and people that commit very little crimes in this state and in this country. Thank you.
Just by order of arrival, I'm going to bring up Assemblymember Deborah Glick.
Let's be clear. If they cared about public safety and the safety of people across the country, they would not have Trump would not have pardoned people who attacked police officers at the Capitol. So they do not care about public safety. They care about private profits. Nothing could be clearer. We are here because people have come to this country for generations because America has stood for embracing people of all kinds of people, because they have a dream of raising themselves up and their families up. Immigrants, undocumented immigrants, are our neighbors. They're our friends. They are people who work in our businesses. They are people who pick the food we eat. They are committed, as every generation of immigrant has been. Every wave has come here with a hope and dream of being Americans. And in my mind, they are Americans. They are my friends and my neighbors. And we are here to say we are not going to be divided. We've seen this. You know, not everybody pays attention to history. People in my family pay attention to history because we have seen this before. And it is pernicious, it is cruel, and it goes to the basest instincts of other people who are stressed and struggling and who are receptive to a notion that the reason they have problems is because of someone else. It is vile, and it is thoroughly anti-American. So I'm here to stand with my colleagues to say, not on our watch.
Now I'm going to call up Senator Julia Salazar. Julia?
Thank you. For all of us here, whether you are a legislator or you are any other New Yorker, if you have ever wondered, thought to yourself, what would I do? What would I do in a situation where we have an autocrat, where the federal government is completely disregarding people's constitutional rights, when they are coming for our immigrant neighbors? Not only, while it would be enough, those who are undocumented, but even permanent residents. If you've ever wondered what you would do if this were happening, you no longer need to wonder, because it is happening. And the question we all must ask ourselves is, which side are you on? Right. Are you on the side of the Trump administration and the people who they have deployed against our neighbors, against our people, or are you on the side of justice? That is the question we all must answer. When we are dealing with bullies, the only appropriate response is to stand up to them, not to cower in fear, not to capitulate to them, not to give them a single inch. And in fact, when they say that they want New York to collaborate with ICE, we must take a stand and do the exact opposite. That is why we must pass the New York for All Act. That is why we must pass dignity, not detention. Access to representation. We need an immigrant justice agenda in New York State precisely because of what the federal government is trying to do. We owe it to all New Yorkers. We owe it to ourselves. History will judge us for what we do in this moment. And we are all gathered here to demand that our state does the right thing and protect our neighbors. Thank you.
Assemblymember Tony Simone.
Sorry to my colleagues, I have a debate that they're waiting on, but this is more important. This is a debate about the future of our country. I'm Assemblymember Tony Simone. I represent the west side of Manhattan. My mom is an immigrant from Peru. I have two undocumented cousins, one who's in hiding and one who refuses to hide. And just earlier, we had a white supremacist, Tom Homan, in this building, trying to overturn our laws to protect our neighbors. The folks that feed us, the folks that protect us, the folks that go to war with us. We are a land of immigrants. The way you solve the immigration problem isn't through mass deportations. is through comprehensive immigration reform. But the little man in the White House, the weakling, the convicted felon who is a criminal, because when you overstay your visa, it's a civil offense. We need to educate folks about that. It's not a criminal offense. And yes, we have an immigration problem. But the party of the white supremacists, yes, and the racists who want to divide us by fear don't have solutions. They only have fear. And fear is temporarily winning, but it won't win in the long run. My mom shouldn't have to cry to me on the phone about our family members. My neighbors shouldn't be afraid to send their kids to school. Our fellow New Yorkers and Americans shouldn't feel like they have to hide in their own country, because this is their country too. I don't see ICE going into the white areas of Chicago and undocumented immigrants, the Irish and the Polish in many of our cities, and we know why. There's a reason why this stupid asshole in the White House wants to go after Greenland and other places with white people. He's sending a message to his followers and his Proud Boys. And now he's locking up people for free speech without due process. And we will not stand for it. Because when you come for one of us, you come for all of us. Tom Homan, resign. Get the hell out of our state.
I don't think we can top that. Now I'd like to call up Senator from the Hudson Valley, Senator Michelle Hinchy.
Thank you, Senator Gounardes. Thank you, everyone. When I say fight back, you say now. Fight back. Now. Fight back. Now. Because it is never been more important to make our voices heard on so many issues that we are seeing across this country. But right now, today, we have someone who stands diametrically opposed to the values that we lead with in New York, standing in this Capitol, in the People's Building, pretending that they speak for us, pretending that they're looking out for us, pretending that they care about us. And we know, and let's be honest, they know that is not what they are doing. Instead, they are leading with division and fear. And division and fear have never created a brighter future or a safer community. Never. If they actually cared about helping people, they would find true pathways to citizenship for people who have been here for decades. If they actually cared about helping people, they would make sure that our businesses could thrive with the workforce that they have been depending on for decades. If they actually cared about Americans, they would stand shoulder to shoulder with the people who built this country and make sure that we're actually doing right by them. But instead, they are trying to divide us, and yet we stand here united together to say that here in New York and across this country, but here in New York, we will not kowtow to fear, pressure, and bullying. We will not allow them to divide us, and we will do everything we can to continue to lead with our values and protect the most vulnerable among us who deserve everything that we have and everything that they are fighting for in this country with us. Thank you for organizing this rally in response to the ugly message that is being sent downstairs. And I look forward to passing these bills together to send the message to the rest of the country what we should be fighting for. Thank you. Thank you.
The co-chair of the AAPI Task Force, Grace Lee.
Good afternoon. I want to thank Senator Gounardes and Assemblymember Karines Reyes for having us here today. I am Assemblymember Grace Lee, and I am the proud daughter of immigrants. Tom Homan is up here in Albany, which is a little surprising to me, because he told Eric Adams that he was going to be up somewhere else. But since he's chosen to come up to Albany, I have one message for you, Tom Homan. You are not welcome here. New York has been and always will be a place that welcomes immigrants. We recognize that immigrants is what makes our state great. It is our strength, not our weakness. And let me be clear, we are not intimidated by Trump's enforcers. We don't cower to threats. And New York's values are not up for negotiation. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Now, up from Rochester, Senator Samara Brooke. Samara?
Yes, Rochester. Well, the Assembly member, I have the same opening line. I'm also a proud daughter of an immigrant and also a proud representative of an incredible immigrant community. And not only that, but many refugees who have created their homes in upstate New York. We fight often for our refugee community because that is often how our population is growing in upstate New York. These are the brilliant scientists and doctors and social workers and teachers that are in our communities. And when I think about what's happening here today, I think about something that's been coming up a lot in my conversations, which is that with all of the chaos that's happening in Washington, D.C., with the lack of vision for where to take America, how to lift Americans out of poverty, how to make our communities safer, they are looking to us in New York for steadiness. They're looking to us in New York for vision of what we're actually going to build with government. Government is meant to build. It is meant to protect. It is meant to create safety and have communities thrive. And all we hear out of Washington, D.C. is how they want to take us apart, how they want to break us down, how they want to defund us. And now you want to come to our house? And you want to intimidate us? Well, I have news for you. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in New York. It's not going to happen here. And look around at all of these legislators and advocates, and you tell me the last time all of us stood together, united in what we need to accomplish. We all don't agree on everything, but we sure as heck agree on this. Immigrants have a community here in New York. They have a home in New York, and New York is New York because of our immigrant community. Thank you.
Immigrants are welcome here. Assemblymember Emerita Torres from the Bronx.
Emerita Torres, I represent a beautiful community of immigrants in the South Bronx. I have a question. Does Tom Homan speak for us? No. Does Tom Homan speak for us? No. He is not welcomed in the legislature. New York is a beacon of hope. New York is a beacon of love, and New York has provided a foundation for so many immigrant communities. Not only that, immigrant communities have formed the foundation for us to live and to thrive. The Bronx is no different. Our state is no different. We are not going to let a xenophobic, proud boy with a white nationalist agenda run our city, our state, or our country. We are here to say no, and we are here to reject that. Are we rejecting that today? Yes. We're rejecting that. Thank you very much.
We're going to go back down to Queens now and hear from Senator Jessica Ramos.
When I passed the Excluded Workers Fund at the height of the pandemic, I did so proudly representing the most diverse corner of the entire world, Jackson Heights, Queens, where we speak more than 200 languages. People come from all walks of life and somehow are able to emulate for the rest of the world what peaceful coexistence looks like. We'd be nothing without our diversity. We wouldn't be known for our food. Our children wouldn't grow up in some of the most diverse classrooms, having some of the most well-rounded education, if it wasn't for the Latino immigrants, the South Asian immigrants, the African immigrants, and everyone else who lives in our community. They said that we shouldn't give taxpayer dollars as relief to undocumented immigrants who were left out of unemployment insurance, because they erroneously believe and continuously repeat the myth that undocumented immigrants don't pay taxes. Well, undocumented immigrants pay much more in taxes than the oligarchy that surrounds the occupant of the White House. And we are here today to highlight the fact that we don't roll over like Eric Adams did. We're not going to roll over for our immigrants. And although Tom Homan clearly does not have an understanding of the authority he wields, because he seems to wield it like a toy sword, clumsily, without an understanding of the weight. Well, we here do understand the weight of history. And more than that, we understand the weight of the U.S. Constitution that plainly says that we have the right to privacy, that we are to be allowed to live without the fear of reprisal from any authority in this country. There is no asterisk that says whether it's you're a natural-born citizen, a naturalized citizen, or an undocumented person. If you make a home in New York State, you're a New Yorker, as far as any of us are concerned. And none of us will kowtow or cower to any demands from Tom Homan or anyone else who that orange man sends our way, because we will deport them from Albany just like we did Andrew Cuomo. That's what we're going to do. We are going to continue to stand up, and hopefully with the help of Governor Hochul in this budget, because there's still time to make sure that our immigrant agenda is a part of that final budget, so that we're sending a clear message to everyone that this is and will always remain a state of immigrants. The first immigrants were the Pilgrims, because this is stolen land. So from now on, Tom Homan should shake in his boots every time he thinks about stepping foot in New York, because we will continue to educate our neighbors about their rights, and we will make sure that they are protected and that family separation does not take place. Thank you.
From Brooklyn, Assemblymember Brian Cunningham.
Let me just say this really quickly, because I have a bunch of colleagues behind me who stand for the same values. But if my mother got here in 1975, I might not be standing here in 2025. Our country is so deeply divided on this issue of immigration, but in New York, we stand clear-eyed that immigrants are welcome here.
Yes.
Since Tom is in the building, I have a question. Where is Muhammad Khalil? Why was he arrested? Why was he illegally deported out of our state to Louisiana? Those are the questions you should be answering in Albany today. Not sitting down cozying with Republicans who don't stand for their values. We will not stand for this. New Yorkers will say it again loud and clear. New Yorkers, immigrants are welcome here. New Yorkers, immigrants are welcome here. New Yorkers,
Immigrants are welcome here.
Thank you, Brian. Now we're going to go up to the Bronx. Senator Jamal Bailey.
All right. Hello, hello. So I got a question for the so-called border czar. If you want to get something done, why are you going to people that have no power to do it? Those folks that you were standing with have no power to do anything in this building, so why are you standing next to people that are powerless? When actually the juxtaposition is that you're trying to inflict the harm on the most powerless individuals in our society. Those individuals who are undocumented, who come to our communities because they love this country, because they love this land, because they love the tapestry that is America. When you pull on one thread of that quilt that makes America really great, not the great that you want to make it great, Tom, that makes it really great, it unravels lots of things. I am not an immigrant. My family was born in North Carolina, but my next door neighbors from Guyana, by across the street neighbors from Haiti, and down the block from Ghana, they would differ with you. Mr. Homan, they would say that they are part of what really makes America great, not this nonsense that you are spreading and weaving. I'm going to leave you with this because a lot of people want to say a lot of things. The poet laureate of Queensbridge houses, Nasir Jones, once said something. That people fear what they can't understand and hate what they can't conquer.
Right.
You fear us because you can't understand why legislators from so many different places that look so different are so united on the same thing. And you hate the fact that you know deep down in your heart full of hatred that you cannot and will not and will never be able to conquer the love that is here today. Kick rocks.
Assembly Member Anna Callis from Ithaca, New York.
It was really important for all of us to be here to show white, black, brown, female, male, upstate, downstate, we all changed our schedules because this was the only place to be right now, because this is what New York looks like. This is why we are healthy. This is why we are powerful. And this is why Tom Homan and the orange man up in the White House fear us. That is why they are attacking us. And let's be clear, it is out of fear that they are here and trying to attack. It is out of fear. The minority, their perspective is still the minority. And let's say that, let's own that, let's tell the truth. They are trying to create loud messaging to try and convince the world that that is our predominant perspective. We need to tell each other that that is not true, but tell the rest of the world that that is not true. That is why we all came here. I came because I want to speak truth to this moment. Because what we are seeing with this administration is the commitment to recreate reality in their own image. And we cannot let them. And we are saying no. We are demanding that the public hear the truth. And the truth is, during his last administration, we saw an increased rate of suicide among farmers. Why? Because they were losing their workers. When they say that we need to remove immigrants from our communities because they're taking our jobs, we know that that is a lie, because not a single person stepped in to fill a single one of those jobs because they didn't want them, because they are part of our communities. I have farmers in my communities, and the immigrant communities are family. They are their family. They come back every year. They have their children. They take care of their children. They are their godparents of those children. And they separated those families out of some ideal to create and instill fear, to give us some kind of enemy so that they could distract us so that they could continue to rob this country of every single penny and split it among themselves. That is what they are doing, and they are doing it again. They are doing it again. So from upstate, we know that we have to speak truth and not let them continue to rob this country blind with felonies, with violence, with greed. And I will say this one last thing. We know that the foundation of oppression is fear. We know that that is what they are trying to instill because they are afraid of losing power. They believe that it is a zero-sum game, and they can't share any of it because they would lose a tiny bit of it, and they would lose control of this country. So they are coming in hard and fast. And what we are saying is no, that equity is the foundation of our identity, that it is who we are as a people, that immigrants pay up to almost $1 trillion in taxes every year. They are our foundation. They are our soul. They are our pride. They are us. We are them. We cannot separate or we will fall apart. Oppression has no place here. No place here. Upstate to downstate, we stand together. No place here.
Thank you, Anna. Next, we're going to go to Syracuse and hear from Senator Rachel May. Rachel?
Thank you, Andrew. And it really is beautiful to see everybody here. I represent pretty much the exact center of the state of New York. I represent hundreds of farmers, thousands of farm workers. They are my constituents, and they deserve to be able to send their kids to school. They deserve to be able to show up for work without fear. And the farmers are terrified of what happens when they don't show up for work. I also represent a lot of tourist towns that depend on hotel workers, and the hotel workers also are scared to show up for work. So this is grinding whole communities, whole local economies to a halt, and it can't go on. These are communities, I don't think these are the communities that when Trump thinks about who his enemies are out there, I don't think these are the communities he has in mind. These, I just got to say, Syracuse and Auburn that I represent are havens for refugees. We have so many people from all over the world, and they're talking now about sending the Ukrainians back who came over on special visas because of Putin's war. They're keeping the money out of the refugee resettlement agencies that are trying to at least, pay the rent and get people settled in their first few months. It is just cruelty, and the cruelty seems to be the point. And I'm proud that we're standing here against the cruelty and for love and care and support for all New Yorkers, especially our immigrant friends and neighbors. Thank you.
Assemblymember George Alvarez from the Bronx.
I'm going to be very brief. With my soft voice and my calm aptitude, I'm just going to say, Mr. Trump, your hate is being deported, not our people. We stand united and firm against your white supremacist agenda. And just over our dead body, you're going to come here to a state and tell us what to do. Mr. Trump, again, deport your hate, not our people. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Going back down to New York City for Senator Liz Krueger.
I'm so proud to be here with my colleagues here in Albany and all of you who understand what is really going on. I'll remind you, I can prove to you values of New York State. The same day Americans went to the ballot box and made the tragic mistake of electing Donald Trump, here in New York, they voted to expand our Constitution, our rights under our Constitution, that people, regardless of national origin or ethnicity, would be guaranteed equal rights here in New York State. Those are New York State values. That's what the people of New York State voted for just in November. How many of us here had family members who, when they came, didn't have legal status? My grandparents came, and great-grandparents, and they were escaping pogroms in Eastern Europe and later on Nazis in Germany. They just came here to save their lives and hope for better for their families and build those families and build America. That's how I got here to the New York State Senate, because I'm the grandchild of people who weren't documented, and every one of us has the same story. And so when the Trump administration, and we watch them now, they're bringing down our Constitution in less than 60 days. I've never agreed with everything our country did, but I've never been ashamed of our country until I've watched what this group of thugs, felons, rapists are doing, not just to us here at home, but to the entire world. So we have to stand strong, we have to stand together, and we have to make sure everyone understands what they are trying to do, and it will destroy us all. Even if you think, I don't know any immigrants, I don't have friends and family or neighbors, because there might be some of us who don't. They're bringing down the country, and we have to stop them. And thank you, everyone, for shouting it out right here today. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Assemblymember Catalina Cruz.
I spent 2 hours trying to track down a child with his father who was deported yesterday. I spent 3 months creating an emergency network with Jessica's team and several of our local electeds where if someone came for one of our families, we could figure out how to track them down. We could figure out where they were, how to get them services. We could figure out what they needed. I spent an entire career thinking that the law was on our side. And I find myself every single day hanging on to the very little hope because I believe in God. Call it what you will. But this country has gone through really tough times before. And I want us to be really, really realistic that there is probably nothing we can do for the day they come for one of us. I used to be undocumented. I would not be surprised if they try to strip me of my citizenship. There is nothing we can do, but that doesn't mean we give up hope. That doesn't mean we sit down and do nothing. We may not be able to stop the deportation of one family, but we can help 10 others by making sure that we pass dignity, not detention, New York for all, and get them legal services. There's a song in Spanish that says, todo tiene su final, nada dura para siempre. Everything has an end and nothing lasts forever. And I think, and I'm beginning to see signs that even their own party is turning on them. Because every single farmer in the state of New York is about to lose a lot of money when they come for their farm workers, and I don't care what they tell you, they are coming for your farm workers and their families and their children. And this whole story of we're going after the people who are criminals, I want to tell you what used to happen in case you might not remember. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, especially out in Long Island, you'd have law enforcement, because they'd have something that would just say police, but underneath it was an ICE uniform, show up to someone's house and say, I am looking for John Doe. John Doe doesn't live here anymore. Well, do you have papers? Do you have papers? Do you have papers? And when inexplicably, because we would try to train them, the family would say, no, I don't, thinking that they were safe because they weren't looking for them. Guess what? They would take every single member of that family. They're doing the exact same thing, except at 10 times higher speed. And we're not going to be able to keep up. And this message is for my advocates and for my colleagues. Don't let that dissuade you from standing with us. Don't let that feel like there is no hope. Hang on to whatever God you believe in, whatever you hold dear, in making sure that we can last 4 years until they are gone, because they will be gone. And they're going to create damage that can be repaired. I don't want them to let you believe that it cannot be repaired. We're going to have to get not just legal services, but mental health services for a lot of these children. Because imagine being 11 years old or 12 years old. And every time you go to school, you have to make an emergency plan in case your mom is not home. That is how I grew up. That is how the children in Corona are growing up right now. So even if it feels bleak, do not give up hope. Do not give up, because we're going to get through this.
Thank you, Catalina. We're going to take a quick pause, and we're going to have Jasmine Gripper, the co-chair of the New York Working Families Party, say a few words. Jasmine?
When New Yorkers are under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back. We will stand up and we will fight back. For all New Yorkers, regardless of their paperwork, regardless of their immigration status, regardless of when they arrived here, whether it was a week ago or a century ago, we are all New Yorkers. I am proud to stand here with the elected officials who have a plan to protect New York, who have solutions to the real problems New Yorkers are dealing with, who are pushing past the hate and fear-mongering that is coming from Washington, D.C. and this White House, and saying that we are here to stand up for New York communities. I applaud the leadership from New York state legislators in the Assembly and the Senate for saying we are here to protect our communities, we are here to protect all New Yorkers, and we are working to make their lives better. That is what government is about. That is what it should be about. And I thank you for standing up with us, and we're going to get this work done, and we're going to continue to stay united throughout this fight. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Now we're going to go to Westchester and hear from Senator Shelley Mayer. Shelley?
Thank you. Thank you very much. You know, when I saw that Tom Homan had the nerve to come into our building today, my heart just sunk. Because one, look at this group that has been here today. This is people that represent every community. And I know he thinks he's from New York. He's not from our New York.
Right.
He's not from our communities. He's not from the suburbs. He's not from the rural communities. And he's damn well not from the cities of New York. And shame on our Republican colleagues. Shame on them for standing with him and not standing here. They represent these communities too. They represent the city of New York, the suburbs, the rural communities, the upstate cities. They know who's at risk here. They should not be standing with him. Shame on them. Credit to us. We are not going to be bullied. We are not going to be in fear. We are going to stand together. We are together. New York is a community of immigrants. That's how a vast majority of us got here, and we're not backing down.
Going back to New York City with Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal.
Thank you. I'm Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal. I represent the Upper West Side, parts of Hell's Kitchen, and my mother and my grandmother escaped the Nazis to come to New York City. I would not be standing here if New York did not accept them. And the same is true for so many of us, no matter our religion, our color, our creed. We're all in this together. And Tom Homan, really a coward, like, are you afraid of the governor because she's not here? You come here now? And to my colleagues who are Republicans who secretly say to me, this is bad, grow a spine. Yes. Don't be cowards the way the Republicans in the House of Representatives are. Cowards. They don't stand for anything. They're scared when the bully-in-chief bullies them. Okay, you got no values, you got no worth. We here in New York have worth because we are together. All corners of the state are together. We are the armor for our immigrant people. And we will not move away. Tom Homan said, you're not going to stop us, New York State. If you don't get out of the way, we're going to do our job. Well, we will do our job.
Right.
We represent immigrants. We represent their families. We represent all of New York State. So you're going to have to get by us in order to do your perverted, vindictive actions. We will not stand idly by, and we will continue the fight. Thank you.
We thank you, Linda. We're going to keep it in New York City and hear from Senator Kristen Gonzalez.
So much, Andrew. All right, everybody. If you identify as an immigrant, if you have immigrant neighbors, if you come from an immigrant community that you love, I want to hear some noise. If you are ready to fight for those neighbors, I want to hear some noise. Thank you all so much for being here today. My name is Kristen Gonzalez, and I'm the state senator for District 59 in Queens, Brooklyn, and Manhattan. I know we got our overlaps in the house. And I start with love, because when the other side is leading with hate, we lead with love. Love for our neighbors, love for our immigrant communities, and love for our core values of diversity and equity. And when the other side leads with fear, we lead with fact. And the fact is, this is not about public safety. This is not about law and order, because if it was, the Trump administration would not be going to workplaces, schools, they would not be going to hospitals and threatening people seeking health care. And they certainly would not be looking for the tax records of folks without documentation who are paying taxes every single year.
Right.
Those are the facts. And we've heard so much today about why it is important to take on this fight, to take on their campaign of fear and violence. And I know in New York State we can and will. But I want to use this moment to send a message to every single New Yorker. Because whether or not you identify as an immigrant or have an immigrant neighbor or come from an immigrant community, this concerns you. This is not about a lawful state. They are recommending that our mayor break the law every day. What we are seeing is a fundamental crumbling of our democracy. Now is the moment for every single one of you to join us. Yes. I want you to look around and see each one of my colleagues who are here and ready to take up this fight. Because while the Republicans continue to spread misinformation and fear, we are here to fight for you. We are here for you. And we need you tapped in to march with us, to organize with us on the ground, to make sure that we are protected and prepared, and to push us and hold us accountable here to make sure we are passing the New York for All Act, that we are passing the Access to Representation Act, dignity, not detention, and so much more. This is the moment for us to determine what our future will look like. And as a young elected with so many other young people I know whose futures, all of our futures on the line, we cannot sit on the sidelines. So thank you to everyone here for showing up, and I cannot wait to get back down to the district and continue fighting this fight, because we can do it. Thank you all so much.
Now we go to Westchester with Assemblymember Steve Otis.
I have a message for Tom Homan. In the movie Casablanca, there was a scene where Humphrey Bogart says to the fascists, "There are some neighborhoods in New York I would advise you not trying to occupy." This is such a neighborhood. We're here to say no to Tom Homan. Remember, they are not following the law. Today, and this is a fear we have, ICE is not following the law. Follow what's going on in this country in the last few weeks. We are in a country where the law doesn't matter, but rule matters. And they are trying to rule like dictators. We say no. Don't come to Albany. Don't come to New York. Thank you.
I like that movie. That's a good movie, Steve. We're going to bring it local and hear from Senator Pat Fahey from Albany. Pat?
Thank you. I've rarely waited this long, I have to say, but I thought it was so important to be here to add to the color of what you are seeing here as the face of immigration. And I am just so pleased with this turnout. Compliments to Senator Gounardes and Assemblywoman Karines Reyes, because this turnout so last minute is amazing. And yes, I too have missed 1 million meetings already, but I am a part of that face. I want to be that face of immigration. I stand with you. Yes, we need New York for all. It's not just about the right thing. It's not just about standing up to these fear tactics, these terror tactics. It's also to remind people that individuals have rights. They have rights. And yes, I too am the daughter of immigrants. And when they came off, in my case, when they came off that boat in the New York City harbor, what is the first thing you see? You see that Statue of Liberty, right? That statue is there for give us your huddled masses, the tired and the poor. Tired and poor does not mean you do not have any rights. You have rights, and I'm proud to co-sponsor the Access to Representation as well as the New York for All. So, and by the way, this is not just because it's the right thing to do, to stand up to these fear tactics. It's also good economic sense. When we start to pay more at our grocery stores because we don't have the workers, when we start to have even longer lines in our healthcare institutions because we don't have the workers, there is a price to pay to this. So it's good economic sense. Let's do the right thing. Let's treat people as human beings. And let's never forget, we are a nation of immigrants. It is our strength. Thank you.
We're going to stay in Albany County with Assemblymember Gabriela Romero.
Before I start, I just want to acknowledge some of the amazing local organizations that are here. We have our Council for Albany Neighborhood Associations, which represents all of the neighborhood associations in the city of Albany. Incredible. We also obviously have the New York Immigration Coalition. We have the Columbia County Sanctuary Movement, yes. And the New York WFP. Incredible local, but also statewide organizations. Can we give it up for our locals? So obviously Tom Homan thinks he can come to Albany and threaten New Yorkers here in the walls of the Capitol. I don't know what Tom Homan heard about Albany, but I was born and raised here. And I can assure him that we won't be scared off by Tom Homan. We won't sell out immigrant communities just because he came to throw a little temper tantrum here in the Capitol. He's definitely not welcome here in the Capitol. He's definitely sure as shit not welcome in the People's House. And he is sure as shit not welcome in the state of New York. So we are here to tell him that we will not stand up for his tactics. We will not stand up for the tactics of Donald Trump, and we support our immigrants here in the state of New York. We definitely support our immigrants here in the city of Albany, and he is not welcome here. That's sure.
Thank you very much, Gabrielle. Now we're going to go back to Brooklyn and hear from Senator Jabari Brisport.
Thank you, and thanks again to our organizers, Assemblymember Reyes, Senator Gounardes. I'm State Senator Jabari Brisport from Brooklyn. My family's Guyanese. I'm the proud son of a man who lived here undocumented for 20 years and gave more to New York every single day than Donald Trump or Tom Homan has done in their entire career. And to Trump and Homan, I say your bigotry may have gripped the White House for the next 4 years, but it is not welcome here, and we will fight you at every single step of the way, and we will win. We will fight you down right after that stupid little clown show of a press conference you did downstairs. We will fight you with legislation like access to representation, dignity not detention, and New York for all. We will fight you in the courts. And if you dare set foot in Brooklyn, little Tommy boy, I will fight you there too. Immigrants are welcome here. Free Mahmoud Khalil. Thank you.
Assemblymember John Rivera from Buffalo, New York.
Thank you, everybody, for being here, and I'll keep this brief. One day in history, when we are many years older than we are now, we're going to look back at this time, and it'll be defined by one word: cowardice. La gran cobardía is how this time of our lives will be known. Because believe me, this administration pontificates with a lot of bravado and a lot of fake confidence, but let me tell you, it's filled with little men incapable of doing real public service. So instead of that, they come after the weak, they come after the tired, they come after those that are already marginalized because they're easy targets. There is no public service in these people. And for Mr. Homan that decided to make an appearance here in Albany, the biggest coward that this building has seen all day. Because I'll tell you what, to waste your time and meet with minority members when we are gladly here to have a conversation with you, says a lot more about him than it does about us. Because we stand open. Our leaders are open. Our governor is open to have any conversation with the federal government. But instead, this man comes here and fills up a room with people that look just like him, that think just like him, that talk just like him, instead of having a real conversation about what people need in New York State. That's right. I today don't want to even mention Trump or Homan another time. I instead want to say our Republican colleagues need to stand on their 2 feet. They need to be people of boldness, and they need to fight for the things that matter in their district. Because I can tell you, farmers in upstate, they're going to be hurting. Business owners in upstate, they're going to be hurting. Neighborhoods and communities that are going to have vacant homes are going to be hurting. But still, we have Republicans that are silent. The U.S. Department of Education decimated in the last 24 hours. Silence. People being incarcerated, people being sent away for no real reason. Silence. That is the Republican Party of today, and we cannot stand for it. So together, from now on, we have to make the assurance to ourselves, to the future of this community, to the future of this state, that we're going to hold these Republicans accountable. Now is the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. We were joined by Senator Gustavo Herrera from the Bronx, but he had to leave. But I want to make sure that I acknowledge that he was here. And now, last but certainly not least, from the Senate side is my colleague from the Bronx, Senator Natalia Fernandez.
Thank you. Last senator standing is not a bad title. Yes. But thank you so much for your gathering here, to my amazing colleagues, for saying everything that you said, because ditto to everything. But the message that we need to know is that we're in dangerous, dangerous times. And shame, again, on our colleagues for standing with that man and this administration that is directly looking to harm our communities. Each and every one of us has diverse communities that contribute, that pay taxes, that take care of one another. And they are standing on the side of hate, on the side of fear, and avidly advocating to divide us. Shame on them. We've seen this years ago in the 1940s when they othered us, when they've told us that your problems is their fault. Enough of that. Stand up against that. Stand for your constituents. As we see our departments getting crumbled, the Department of Education forcing institutions to remove words from their policies, from their websites, like Black, like Latino, like women. Why don't you stand for the women in your district? Why don't you stand for your constituents? Speak up against this and fight for real solutions to protect your communities, to protect your neighbors, and stand away from the hate that has continued to hurt us and will hurt us more, unfortunately. But I'm encouraged by my colleagues here. I'm encouraged by my constituents that stand on the path of dignity, that stand with unity, that stand with protecting our neighbors. Shame on those who have stood with him today.
Right. Assemblymember Jessica Gonzalez Rojas from Queens.
Thank you. Like so many of us here, I too am the proud daughter of an immigrant, and I wear it proudly every day around my neck. My father came from Paraguay in 1969. My father escaped a dictatorship from Paraguay in 1969. And my father is reminding me what he's seeing right now is a dictatorship. Literally, people are being disappeared. Some people say, oh, well, your father has a green card. He's a legal permanent resident. They don't care. Mr. Khalil was doing his First Amendment right to protest, and he was recently picked up, a legal permanent resident who is married to a U.S. citizen who is 8 months pregnant. And instead of being with his family, he is in a deportation facility in Louisiana. They're coming for all of us. And here in New York, we don't stand for that. So whether it's our asylum seekers, our refugees, our legal permanent residents, or our undocumented neighbors, we stand with you. Tom Homan, you are not welcome here. But I'm going to ask for a call and repeat. Say it loud, say it clear. Immigrants are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. Immigrants are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. Immigrants are welcome here. We reject your policies, and we will fight to make sure that we protect every single New Yorker. Thank you.
Assemblymember Emily Gallagher.
All right, everybody. I'm Assemblymember Emily Gallagher, and I was so moved to see what felt like hundreds of our colleagues and supporters here. And I just want to say that we are true punks, because my favorite band, Black Flag, would play to a room of hundreds of people or 3 people. It didn't matter, because the message is what matters. And my message here is that hope is not enough. Wanting to do the right thing is not enough. We need a sense of urgency right now. We are putting things off that could be taken care of. We are opening up our state to a lot of vulnerability, and I am quite frankly done. We need action now. And what we need to do is make sure that we don't let anybody tell us to wait any longer. We are not playing a game. This has happened in the United States before, and it will happen again if we don't stop it. And you know what? Stopping it is more than standing here talking. It is passing access to representation. It is passing the entire package of bills. It is listening to the people who are being targeted, asking them what they need, and writing it and passing it into legislation, and the governor signing it. And I will not feel safe until that is what's happening in this House. And I am tired of having polite conversations about it and trying to make each other feel better while the world burns down. When the United States goes, the rest of the world goes too. And we can't wait anymore. So this felt really, really great, and it was great to see so many of our colleagues together. But this is not a game. We need this now. Thank you.
Assemblymember Harvey Epstein.
So we see a chaos every day, and that's their goal, to keep us off our feet, to make sure we don't know what's coming next. But it's our responsibility to stay clear in our values, to stand up for what we believe in, to say it clear that this is an immigrant state, that we're going to support our immigrants. And when they move forward and doing their tax cuts for their billionaire friends, that we're clear. When they say they're going to cut Department of Education because they don't believe in education, that we are clear. When they're coming from one of us, they say it's coming for all of us, and we're clear. Our message is clear to all of us. We are here for New Yorkers. We're going to fight for our New Yorkers. We're going to stand every single day and ignore their chaos and make sure we fight for our values, because that's what New Yorkers do. Thank you.
Assemblymember Dana Levenberg.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to Assemblymember Reyes and Senator Gounardes for organizing this today, and for all of the advocates who have been standing with us, and many of whom are hiding in the shadows. We know that we need to be there for all of our New Yorkers. What makes New York so beautiful? Our people. Who are our people? Our immigrants. All of us come from someplace else. There are so few of us who are Native Americans. But we came here for hope, for dreams. And we know that New York was built on the backs of immigrants, and it continues to be built, and it continues to be better because of our immigrant population. My mother and grandparents were also products of, came out of Nazi Germany in hiding, and they came here to seek a better life. And that Jewish star that Jews had to wear during the Holocaust is just an example of what we are now doing, sending our immigrants into our population into hiding, because they cannot feel free. They cannot feel that they can be here in public without feeling a threat to their lives. Children are in fear. Our parents are in fear. Children are not going to school. We need an educated population. By the way, Mr. Trump, you said you want to get rid of the Department of Education so the states can take care of it all. Great. Let New York State take care of our own. Let New York State take care of our immigrant population. We need to pass this legislation so that we can continue to take care of the people of New York State. Thank you for everybody being here today, and thank you to our incredible, incredible immigrants. Let's not scapegoat people who do not deserve to be scapegoated. Let us make sure that we lead with love and we continue to build up our fantastic New York State. Thank you.
Assemblymember Landon Days from the Bronx.
I know it's been long. Thank you. Why is this African American whose family who has been here for 238 years standing up for immigrants? It's because for the first 81 years, my family were not citizens. We were 3/5 of a person. If not for the 14th Amendment, Asian Americans would not be considered citizens, and U.S. Versus Wong. So part of the reason why I'm fighting here and talking up as we bury one of our best civil rights leaders, Hazel Dukes, is because we fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. We fight and speak up for the voiceless. in my DNA with who I and my family is, we understand the plight that they're going through because the foot has always been on my community's necks, and we can't stand by and watch that foot be on other communities. So when we have this coalescence of all these different groups coming together, black, white, Latino, Asian, doesn't matter, come together to fight for this reason, to send a message to President Musk and Vice President Trump that their white Christian national agenda of the Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation's agenda will not win. And I'll leave on this final note. This is clearly about the white Christian national agenda. But what I do ask is that they take Christian out of that, because there's nothing Christian about it. As a person that was raised in the church, we help the poor. We help the helpless. We fight for those that Jesus Christ, in my belief in religion, would have fought for. And they're doing the complete opposite of that. So if you call yourself a Christian, you cannot be in the same voice as Musk and Trump, who could not probably pick out a Bible verse if they put a gun to their heads. So thank you so much. My name is Landon Davis from the 8077, and please fight for the voiceless, fight for those who are the most vulnerable, and most importantly, fight for our neighbors who are good people who are just trying to make a life for their families. Thank you.
Before we close out with our final assembly speaker, we're going to have Iridian from the Columbia County Sanctuary Movement say a few words. Iridian?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Iridian Riccobono Lucas. I am a proud daughter of Mexican immigrants and a DACA recipient. I also have the privilege of organizing with the most hardworking and kindest people that I know as campaign coordinator with CCSM and as a youth organizer with Adelante Student Voices. I was raised in the beautiful Hudson Valley, and I can confidently say that New Yorkers do not stand with the Trump administration's agenda, do not stand with Tom Homan's cruel agenda to tear apart families like mine. And we can't wait any longer. Today, Tom was in our capital, spewing xenophobic rhetoric about my community that aims to criminalize and to demonize people like me, people like my parents, people like the community that I organize with. So the time to act is now. We need to pass New York for all. We need to pass dignity, not detention. We need to pass access to representation now. And while we fight for these campaigns, we know that we have the support behind New York for all. We have all of these elected standing behind us that were here with us today. So we ask that our leadership moves New York for All out of the Codes Committee so we can bring the fight to the floor. CCSM, Columbia County Sanctuary Movement, we're a leading organization that has been responding to immigration enforcement activity on the ground. And now we have proof that local police in the Capital Region and state troopers are currently collaborating with ICE to detain community members, and we will work to hold them accountable and state law enforcement accountable to take action and prevent further family separations. So shout out to all of my fellow organizers and our allied legislators that were here with us today who have been fighting to pass local resolutions and policies to protect our immigrant community. And last but not least, I want to say gracias to mi mamá y mi papá, as they are the shoulders that I have been standing on here today and will continue to fight for. Thank you, everyone.
And now to close us out, Assembly Deputy Speaker from Long Island, Phil Ramos.
Thank you. I stand united with my colleagues to push back against this draconian and hypocritical policies coming from our federal government. Draconian because it actually hurts the very people who voted for Trump in many cases, and hypocritical because it comes out with the premise that somehow immigrants are not going by the rules. And we keep hearing this from the president. Well, you know, we're not against immigration. We're against illegal immigration. We just want everybody to go by the same rules. And that's the hypocritical part, because 25 million immigrants came to this country from Europe in the early 1900s. Not one of them needed a visa. A doctor looked in their mouth with a flashlight. If they were well, they were allowed in. Don't tell us about the same rules. We had the Asian Exclusion Act. Asians born in this country could not be Americans. They had Operation Wetback, where they deported Mexicans from 30% of our country that used to be Mexico, and they deported them to a country they didn't even know. Don't tell us about the same rules, because the rules have never, ever been the same for people of color. And there is one group of immigrants who came here who never saw that majestic lady in New York Harbor, and that is because they were chained to the bottom of ships. So we need to stand and we need to have a strategy. The same way the right has a strategy, we need to have one. We need to reach across to people on their side who align with us. And I call on the Farm Bureau to stand with us. The Farm Bureau, which is a Republican lobby, should stand with us on this common issue. Every town in New York has chambers of commerces that all over the place. Most of them are right-leaning. Now, they face the prospect of going bankrupt because they have to pay somebody $40 an hour to wash dishes in their restaurants. We need to make alliance with them. When we jump up and down here and we protest, and it's important we unite our people, but this sometimes empowers the other side. But when their lobby, when their Farm Bureau, when their base comes against them, that's when we're going to have some effective results of what we do. So we need to focus our strategy, stand united, and resist. Thank you.